been known to be passionate about Taco Bell. And as an easygoing guy, his first love was paleontology as a young man, and then actually if he had a theme song, it would be Walking on Sunshine by the 80s band Katrina and the Waves. This is our next speaker, Zach Coleman, who's an associate producer at Disney Movies Online, and will be giving his third speech. The third speech project is about getting to the point, and it's for 5 to 7 minutes, and he's going to be talking to us about The Fall of Giants, which is a book by Ken Follett, which has been cited by the Denver Post as being an epic tale in which you will lose yourself. This is Zach Coleman.
I didn't know what was that. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and guests and fellow Toastmasters. Allow me to take you back to a time before women had the right to vote. It was a time before anyone had heard the word Nazi, when the Tsar ruled Russia with an iron fist, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire controlled much of Europe. We're constantly being fed stories about World War II, but you really rarely see a film or a book about World War I. Outside of maybe Legends of the Fall or All Quiet on the Western Front, can't really think of any. Yet this war caused the deaths of countless millions of people and fundamentally changed Europe and the United States forever. Plus, it wasn't even a century ago. This time period is the setting of Ken Follett's newest historical novel, Fall of Giants. As part one of his century trilogy, Fall of Giants at first seems like a really daunting task. It weighs in 1,000 pages, and it talks about it being a trilogy on the cover, so you really know that you're going to be reading a lot of pages. But as someone who has read Pillars of the Earth and World Without End, Follett's other 2 historical novels, I expected the 1,000 pages to fly by faster than the Kentucky Derby. And it did. So in the beginning, Follett rolls out his motley crew of characters, which offer a wide range for him to work with. There's a coal mining brother and sister from Wales named Ethel and Billy Williams, 2 orphan brothers in St. Petersburg, Russia, Grigory and Lev Peshkov, an affable German aristocrat named Walter von Ulrich, a British noble brother and sister named Earl and Maud Fitzherbert, and finally an American diplomat named Gus Duar. The lives of these 8 main characters are carefully intertwined, yet they're so masterfully crafted by Follett that they all stand out from each other. From chapter to chapter, you rarely feel as though any of the characters deserve more stage time than the others, even though there's 8 of them. Follett also sprinkles in plenty of secondary, and even, since it's historical fiction, a lot of historical figures. Like any great author, Follett has taken great pains to ensure that any use of these historical figures would reference an actual event, or an event that really could have happened. So as the Fitzherberts brush with Winston Churchill, or Gus Duar meets with President Wilson, Follett really brings a heavy dose of reality into the novel. But anyway, back to the plot. With the sudden assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, the lives of all these people are flipped upside down. Most readers and people will know that Archduke Franz Ferdinand's assassination led the world into war. But the way that the novel rolls out, you really feel and even start to hope that this doesn't happen. But history holds true, and one by one, the men are plucked out of their routine lives and thrown into this great equalizer of war. Earl Fitzherbert is eager to prove his worth on the battlefield, while Billy Williams, the coal miner, enlists to free himself from the plight of coal miners. Walter von Ulrich has fallen deeply in love, yet Walter is forced back to Germany and must fight the very country that contains the love of his life. Grigory Peshkov is conscripted into the war, while his brother Lev has escaped to freedom in America. Back in America, Gus Duar works with the White House on how to influence the war, while still maintaining an official policy of isolationism. The outbreak of war also gives Ethel Williams and Maud Fitzherbert, both of whom have a really big secret, the chance to take their fight for women's suffrage to London. So at its most bare core, the novel is about the trials about the war and the trials that the characters must undergo on each front. On the British side, the nobility makes tons of mistakes that cost the lives of many men. The Russian soldiers often disregard orders and look out for their own skin. And the Germans, hardened from recent wars, seem to be unstoppable. World War I has really become kind of a forgotten war, and Fall of Giants really brings that war back into relevancy. And although the war is at the core, this isn't some book about war strategy or battles won and lost. It's a story about the people involved, and how they grow and develop during such trying times. Billy Williams quickly rises in military rank as he proves himself at the epic Battle of the Somme, which alone cost 1 million lives. Earl Fitzherbert realizes that battle is not all glory, and that no matter what the rank of soldier, none are invincible. Walter von Ulrich simply wants his German army to finish the war as fast as possible so he can get back to his love. And midway through the war, the Russian Revolution occurs and has ramifications for all the characters involved. And when America finally enters the war, Gus DeWitt enters the war as an officer, and Lev Peshkov, who has been living it up in America, gets involved in a scandal and is forced into the war as well. Now, peppered throughout all these character storyline is an ongoing theme that sometimes took me out of the novel. That storyline was reality. As a student of history, there were aspects of the story that I just knew were going to happen. I knew President Wilson would be reelected. I knew that the Zimmerman note would be the final straw that pulled the U.S. into war. And as the chapters were organized by date, I knew that as we approached November 11th, 1918, the war would soon be ending. Yet, as that same student of history, I also learned a whole lot about the time period. I learned that the battle for women's suffrage in Britain that culminated in the right to vote actually happened before it did in America. And I learned that during the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks weren't actually the only communist power vying for power. So even if you don't know history, or don't even like history, the characters of the novel are strong enough to keep you reading more to see how it all turns out. And as the war comes to an end, so does the story. Just like Europe, the lives of the characters have been changed forever. And I won't give away any of the details, but it's not always a happy ending. Following the armistice, the book rapidly moves through the decade following the Great War in its denouement, and seems to set the stage for the second part of the trilogy. Lovers of Pillars of the Earth and World Without End, which are two of my favorite books, may not be entirely happy if they're looking for a book just like those. While the style of writing and setting of historical fiction are the same, the themes of war and social upheaval as a focal point, plus the addition of having such a historically fresh subject, may be frightening to people who prefer to escape into the Middle Ages. But fear not, Fall of Giants is certainly worthy. If the next two parts are anything like this book, they will make me a very happy reader. I just hope they come soon. Thank you.